this image. December the 1st, 1948, Somerton Beach, South Australia. The man found here was, in every outward respect, perfect. Dressed for a meeting, perhaps a sophisticated evening out, a crisp suit, a tie knotted just so, shoes polished to a gleam. At first, the scene suggested a sudden collapse, a man overcome by illness. But the closer the investigation looked, the more the perfect facade crumbled. He carried no wallet, no watch, no form of identification. Every label on every piece of clothing had been surgically removed. Someone did not want this man recognized. And the autopsy revealed an even darker truth. His body had been ravaged by a powerful, sophisticated poison, one that left no chemical trace for the science of 1948. But the clue that transformed this from a perplexing death into a global enigma was hidden in a secret pocket. A tiny scrap of paper tightly rolled. 2 words, Tamám Shud, the end, torn from an untraceable Persian poem. A phrase that marked not the end of a life, but the beginning of a relentless 70-year quest involving coded ciphers and whispers of international espionage. This is the truth of the Somerton Man. Over the next hour, we'll peel back each layer of this 75-year-old mystery, from the suitcase abandoned at the railway station to the man's stunning exhumation decades later, to the DNA breakthrough that may have finally given him a name. But first, the body on the sand. At 6:30 a.m. on December 1st, 1948, 2 young men, John Bain Lyons and John Mack Johnson, noticed a figure propped neatly against the seawall at Somerton Park. They assumed he was asleep, but his posture was too perfect, too arranged. This deception of normalcy was instantly the most unsettling part of the scene. The man appeared in excellent health, middle-aged, between 40 and 45, about 5 feet 11, light-colored eyes, expensive clothing. Every identifying label removed with surgical precision. Nothing to anchor him to a name, a city, or a country. The removal of the tags was an act of profound, calculated planning. His possessions were oddly specific. A nearly full pack of Army Club cigarettes, 7 Kensitas cigarettes mixed in, a completely different brand, Bryant and May matches, 2 combs, a packet of chewing gum, an unused second-class bus ticket from Adelaide to Glenelg. The presence of 2 distinct cigarette brands hinted at a traveler, or perhaps someone meeting 2 very different sets of contacts. The ticket suggested he arrived by train, then traveled toward the coast. But his estimated time of death, around 2 a.m., raised questions about how he ended up precisely at this spot hours later. John Lyons recalled seeing the man the previous evening around 7:00 p.m., moving his right arm. This subtle detail suggested the man had settled there, perhaps voluntarily, perhaps waiting. A half hour later, another couple saw him again, motionless, and a man stood looking down at him. By 8 p.m., the final sighting placed him still on the seawall, yet the scene at dawn was immaculate. No disturbance, no struggle, the forensic evidence, the lack of disorder in the sand, the position of his body suggested he had died just hours before discovery. The scene, pristine and perfect, felt arranged. It screamed of control. Everything about the positioning of the body conveyed one message. You found the body, but you were never meant to find the man. The body was taken to the Adelaide morgue for examination by the chief government pathologist, Dr. John Burton Cleland. The initial meticulous inspection immediately presented the first major contradiction of the case. Externally, the man was flawless. Strong build, no signs of struggle, no wounds, no trauma. But internally, his system was in crisis. His spleen was enlarged. The liver was congested with blood. The stomach, esophagus, and pharynx were unusually pale, classic signs of violent poisoning. Dr. Cleland confidently stated that a toxic agent had induced heart failure. The immediate search for the substance began, but none of the usual poisons, cyanide, morphine, strychnine, were found. Investigators suspected a barbiturate, or a fast-acting plant-derived toxin such as digitalis or ouabain, but forensics in 1948 couldn't detect certain organic compounds if they killed quickly and metabolized rapidly. This created an infuriating paradox for the South Australian police. A man had been poisoned, but the poison was invisible. Someone had used a substance designed to mimic natural death and defeat the science of the time. This was not the work of a panicked amateur. It was the work of someone with sophisticated knowledge of chemistry and a calculated intent to cover their tracks. The official cause of death remained unknown, a chilling admission that whoever was responsible had succeeded in defeating the scientific methods of the state, and the investigation stalled. With the trail running cold, police expanded their search. In mid-January 1949, they checked the Adelaide railway station's left luggage area. There, untouched since November 30th, the day before the body was found, sat a brown suitcase. The contents of the suitcase were consistent with a traveler attempting to pass unnoticed. Inside were clothes, a dressing gown, size 10 slippers, another tie. Every label had been removed, mirroring the obsessive removal done to the clothing on the body. It was a clear, undeniable match in intent. Yet a forensic detail provided the most exciting break yet. In the cuff of the dead man's trousers, investigators had found a single, minute piece of red cotton thread. It matched perfectly with the thread used to repair a pocket in a pair of trousers inside the suitcase. This thread was a match. The suitcase was unequivocally his, and it confirmed what investigators feared. He arrived in Adelaide with the intention of disappearing. The suitcase offered one promising lead. Several items were stenciled with the names Keane, T. Keane, and Keane. Police searched for anyone with those names and even questioned a man named J. Keane. He was the wrong man. The bust was a failure. The stenciled names, whether deliberately planted or simply belonging to a previous owner of the items, led only to a dead end, consuming precious investigative time. While chasing these false leads, forensic analysis revealed further oddities that suggested a life of specialized training. His leg muscles were highly developed, consistent with someone who frequently wore high-heeled shoes, or a dancer or an athlete. His teeth were flawless, but his jaw displayed a rare malocclusion that should have made identification easy. Yet no match existed. These physical clues opened the door to deeper questions. Was this highly fit, highly secretive individual part of a specialized force? His perfect teeth and powerful muscles spoke not of a laborer, but of someone honed for a specific demanding purpose. The deepest clue, however, remained hidden on the man himself. A silent, final message in his clothing. It was Detective Sergeant John O'Connell who, months after the body was discovered, ordered a meticulous final inspection of the deceased's clothes. This painstaking search revealed a secret fob pocket, professionally sewn into the lining of the man's trousers at the waistband. Tightly rolled up inside was a tiny, crumpled slip of paper, less than an inch square. On that paper were two words, printed in an exotic, elegant font: Tamám Shud, a Persian phrase meaning the end, torn from the final page of a 19th century translation of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a book meditating on the brevity of life and the inevitability of the end. The slip of paper confirmed the death was no accident. It was a carefully prepared sign-off, or a brutal closing message. It was not a message of conclusion. It was the beginning of the most intricate chapter in the entire case. The police broadcast the discovery globally, hoping to find the book from which the page had been torn. Their desperate public plea paid off. A local man stepped forward. Someone had placed a copy of the Rubaiyat in the back seat of his car, left unlocked while parked near Somerton Beach. Police examined it carefully. The final page had a rectangular tear. The missing fragment fit the Somerton Man slip perfectly. This was his book. But the book offered more than just a source for the paper. Inside the back cover, a chilling new layer of mystery was discovered. Written faintly in pencil were 5 lines of capital letters appearing to be a cipher. Wergo ababd emlioy, w bimpenet p, emliab yaqc, it mt samstgab. Below them, a local phone number. This code was immediately handed over to the best cryptographers available, including military intelligence and the Australian Navy. They determined it was likely a substitution cipher, perhaps a visionary cipher. Every known method was tested. No pattern emerged. The code did not match poetry structures, nor military signals, nor known cipher families. Yet, despite their every effort, the message could not be broken. One naval officer concluded, "If this is a code, it's the work of someone trained, and very, very good." Another possibility lingered. The lines resembled the first letters of words, an acrostic. A message designed to be unbreakable unless you knew the key, unless you knew what the letters stood for. The complexity and robustness of the encryption suggested a level of professional tradecraft, far beyond a simple civilian note. A private message, possibly never meant to be decrypted after his death. The discovery of the book also yielded a second crucial piece of evidence, a 7-digit phone number. This number belonged to a young nurse named Jessica Ellen Harkness, who went by the name Jeston. She lived in Glenelg, the very suburb toward which the Somerton Man's bus ticket was directed. Jeston was tracked down and interviewed by Detective Lionel Lean. She confirmed she had owned a rare copy of the Rubaiyat, but claimed to have given it away years earlier to an army officer named Alfred Boxall. Boxall was later located and confirmed to be alive and well, with his copy of the Rubaiyat entirely intact, rendering him a dead end. But the interview with Jeston offered the most compelling human reaction of the entire investigation. Police brought her to the mortuary to look at the plaster bust of the Somerton Man's head and torso. Jeston instantly averted her gaze and trembled, visibly distressed. She strongly insisted she did not know the deceased, but her body language contradicted her words. The conflict was undeniable. Detectives returned to Jeston's home. They noticed a child, her young son, who shared an unusual trait, a rare form of ear anatomy called a Simpson's ear, identical to the Somerton Man's. They shared a similarly shaped jawline. Though circumstantial, the resemblance fueled decades of speculation. Why did this woman, whose phone number was written in the dead man's secret book, who lived a few short blocks from the scene, and who showed such a strong emotional reaction, vehemently deny knowing him? Was she protecting herself, a lover, or perhaps her child? The unanswered questions pointed directly toward concealment and protection. Jeston offered nothing, and the case deepened. By 1949, the investigation had transformed into something far larger than a local mystery. Adelaide, quiet, coastal, unassuming, sat near multiple sensitive military installations. including the Woomera test range, one of the most important weapons testing sites in the world at the time. Dozens of Soviet spies had been uncovered in Australia during the era. This confluence of evidence led to the defining theory of the Somerton Man case. Espionage. Connect the dots, the systematic removal of every identifying label, the use of a sophisticated, untraceable poison, the handwritten, unbreakable cipher, the location near former intelligence safe houses, and the man's physical fitness, suggesting specialized training. The most compelling narrative places the Somerton Man as either a Soviet agent or a Western counteragent, traveling under deep cover to meet an operative, perhaps even Jestin herself. One intelligence officer reviewing the case concluded, this was the work of a trained operative. The preparations, the clothing, the code. Nothing about this was accidental. It was plausible. Not proven, but undeniably plausible. For years, investigators tried to push the case forward. They recreated his face in a full plaster bust. They circulated images globally. They compared transport logs, hotel registers, naval lists, embassies, immigration entries. No match. No family, no nation stepped forward. The body was embalmed and, without identification, buried in an unmarked grave. The Somerton Man became an Australian legend, a silent figure who arrived from nowhere and vanished into an identity he never revealed. And for decades, that was the end of the story, until science caught up. In 2021, the South Australian Attorney General granted permission for the exhumation of the Somerton Man's remains. This was a monumental moment driven by the advancements in forensic science that had exploded over the intervening 7 decades. The hope was simple, that degraded DNA, however minimal, could finally be extracted from the bones or remaining hair samples. The challenge was immense. The body had been buried for over 70 years. His remains were carefully recovered. The process involved separating the remains and sending them to labs where world-class forensic genealogist Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, working alongside Professor Derek Abbott, took on the ultimate challenge. It was degraded, brittle, but not lost. For the first time since 1948, the Somerton Man had a voice, encoded in his DNA. The core of their work utilized sophisticated genetic sequencing and the power of consumer DNA databases, building a family tree backward from potential living relatives. The forensic genealogy team successfully constructed an extensive family tree containing thousands of names. In July 2022, they delivered the finding that had eluded police since 1948. The Somerton Man was identified as Carl Charles Webb. Carl Webb, born 1905, was an electrical engineer and railway ticket clerk from Melbourne, over 400 miles away. DNA evidence confirmed the connection to his family tree and finally gave a name to the ghost on the beach, fulfilling the promise of the modern age of investigation. The long-awaited climax had arrived. But the finality of a name only intensified the mystery that had defined the case for so long. Who was Carl Webb? Why did an engineer from Melbourne travel to Adelaide to die in secret? Why was his clothing stripped of all identifying marks? The poison remains untraceable. The cipher remains unbroken, and the identity of Jestin, the woman whose phone number was in his book, remains connected to him. But her true role is still shrouded in secrecy. If correct, the man on Somerton Beach was not a foreign spy, but an Australian. Yet this revelation didn't solve everything. The question of who had been answered, but the question of why remains open. For 75 years, the Somerton Man was a nameless tragedy, a cipher written in sand and secret pockets. While we now have the name Carl Webb, we must remember he was more than just a puzzle. He was a son, perhaps a father, and a man whose life ended under horrifying, carefully orchestrated circumstances. The DNA gave him a name, but not a story. The truth is, even with the name, the central narrative of the Somerton Man remains fundamentally unchanged. The case is still about a man who intended to disappear. More than 75 years after he sat down for the last time on Somerton Beach, a man whose final act was silent, whose message was hidden in a pocket, whose code remains unbroken, whose life ended with the words, Tamám Shud. The end. The final answer is tantalizingly out of reach, but the ghost on the beach is no longer anonymous. Carl Webb will forever be the symbol of the perfect mystery, but for us, the end of the story remains unwritten. So I want to know what you think. Based on the untraceable poison, the cipher, and the elaborate preparations, what is your ultimate theory? Was Carl Webb a disillusioned Cold War operative who chose his own exit using the poem as his final sign-off? Or was he eliminated by an unknown party to ensure his silence? Let me know your theory in the comments below. Like and subscribe to join us as we continue to unlock the secrets of history's most enduring mysteries.